Former president of the Canadian Auto Workers Union, Buzz Hargrove, has made a move from his seat at the bargaining table to the head of the classroom in his visiting professor role at Ryerson University's Ted Rogers School of Management. In a recent talk at the school, Buzz spoke about the current state of labor relations and how he thinks things need to change in the future. You've said there's no such thing as collective bargaining right now. What do you mean by that?
Free collective bargaining is the right to strike and the employer's right to lock out. If you take either one of those away, then you've essentially undermined the principles that are so basic to free collective bargaining. So anytime you're faced with the employer having the right to order you back to work, you don't have free collective bargaining. You have the employer abusing its own power to over the lives of its own employees.
What is the biggest problem facing labor relations today?
The primary issue that's really stopping relationships from developing is the employers have the power. Under globalization and the ability to, like U.S. Steel, to lock out its workers in Hamilton, but yet still provide the product from its U.S. plants to its Canadian customers without interference. That very heavily weighs any dispute on the side of the employer, and there's so much of that today, and the government never interferes. You know, we have a 3-day strike with the Canadian auto workers and the agents with Air Canada, and the government immediately puts legislation back to work, forcing them back to work. Yet we have the 11-month lockout at U.S. Steel and Stelco up in Hamilton. They just ignore it because the employer is the one who got the power, and they're the ones locking out. So that's what's really plaguing. Every bargaining table we're at today, we're facing massive demands from the employers to give back things we gained many, many years ago. And the fact that the government's attacking unions gives the employers the comfort and confidence that they can attack unions as well. So it makes for a very unhealthy labor management environment.
Well, what should unions do to get back some of that power?
No, I think the Canadian Labour Congress has to take a more leading role in bringing together all of the unions in the country, public and private, and saying to them, now look, we can set by, and I guess let the steel workers sit on the street in Hamilton for 11 months, or steel workers in Sudbury and Newfoundland and Labrador for 12 and 14 months. Or the postal workers, we can see them ordered back to work, or the flight attendants, or we can come together and say to the government, look, we're going to shut the country down. If you unless you stop interfering with the free collective bargaining process, the next time you bring in legislation, we're going to stop the wheels of this economy. You think you're hurt by one group striking one company, then feel the impact of the total labor movement, which has over 3 million members in the country, and them stopping work.
Won't unions be going against their collective agreement by striking while the agreement is in place?
Well, we've historically claimed the right to political protest in spite of our collective agreements, and we have shown it during the Harris days, for example. We shut down workplaces right on, in spite of the fact we had collective agreements that said we didn't have the right to strike. We started out in Hamilton, and we went to Toronto, or London, I'm sorry. We went to Hamilton, to Windsor, Toronto, St. Catharines, even up to Mike Harris's hometown of North Bay. And we shut down all of the workplaces that were unionized in the CAW. And people said we were violating the law. We said, no, we're exercising our democratic rights to political protest, and that's what we did. And I still claim that as a Canadian, we have a right to that.
So is there hope for the future of labor relations?
Yes, absolutely. You know, again, I said I didn't want to be a pessimist. I wanted to describe the challenges that we face today. But there's hope, and I'm optimistic that labor movement will come together and respond as a movement as opposed to an individual bargaining unit of a particular union.
Can you tell me why you're at Ryerson?
When I come into Ryerson, part of it was a visiting professor, which was to share my experiences and my knowledge that I gained over 40 years of collective bargaining with the students. But I also insisted that we'd have discussions about setting up a center for labor management relations, different than what's out there in the other universities around the world. One dedicated to dispute avoidance as opposed to dispute resolution. It's a unique opportunity, especially for labor. Labor don't have this kind of input in any university around the world that we're aware of. So this is unique, where labor can actually be part of the debate, part of the research decisions, and part of developing curriculum for the teaching of the next generation of HR experts.